Hello and welcome. This is the best Artanis build order that you aren't doing. I learned this build order recently from a high-level player named Prober Olel, and thanks to him for his idea. Now, after you learn this today, you should start using it as well. Conventional openings use either units or Unbound fanatics to break the rocks. So with P0 or P2, you use 2 zealots, 2 dragoons, or 1 zealot, 1 dragoon. And the benefits is that you get more energy, but the energy is not really that great compared to Unbound fanatics. However, the saturation is much slower. So once P3 was made, UFs can break the rocks, and this method actually saturates faster than the new method. However, this 50 energy is actually a big cost, especially in mutations where you may need this energy for survival. In this new build, you will build the Nexus at the rocks instead of breaking the rocks first. You will save 50 energy, which will be very useful. If you watch my run with this build order, you'll notice that this energy was definitely needed. Saturation is slightly slower than with the Unbound Fanatic method, but because you have 3 Nexuses, once your natural Nexus is up, you'll make probes a lot quicker. And your army supply and tech are only slightly behind compared to the Unbound Fanatic method, so this is actually better. I did this test on the mutation special delivery, which is on Void Launch, with alien incubation, aggressive deployment, and self-destruction. There are slight variations in the numbers in the supply based on how many goons I made and how many I lost. But overall, you can kind of see the differences. So let's get to the build orders. This is the opening with P2 that I tried. Start off with a gateway at 15 and then 2 gases. So we're gonna go at 4x speed because there isn't much to say. We're not doing this to watch the gameplay, just gonna see how much stuff we have at different points. Here you can make a zealot and break the rocks, but you can also just wait until you get goons. Goons will be more useful, so I decided to wait. So you make 1 goon, start hitting the rocks, make a second one, and then by the time the wave comes, you can break the rocks. And then start the shield regen upgrade. And then for the first wave, you actually have to use your units to fight them off. And you don't actually need a call down, but you can get really, really hurt. So normally I would use Orbital Strike, but with P2, you kind of want to save and not use it. Here, I could have built the Nexus a little earlier instead of the 2 gateways, but I guess I built them just to make sure I had enough stuff for this second fight. And then kill stuff, fight. The next wave will be at 650, so to get ready for that, I need to have a pretty decently sized army, and my saturation has to be wait until later. So here I teleported and then used solar bombardment. If you're playing P0, you probably will just have that extra energy. And I chose 3 points for the analysis, 550, 650, and 930, because these are the saturation points, the times when I was fully saturated for the 3 different builds. So at 930, you can see here I'm finally fully saturated. And then I have a gateway, 4 gateways, a forge, a robo, and the upgrade for level 1 is almost done. This is the opening where I used Unbound Fanatics to break the rocks. So here, just use 50 energy, break all the rocks, and then make the Nexus immediately. And then get the tech, gateway. This part's pretty much the same. And then get the cyber, get a pylon, and then get ready for the attack. So I tried to make just the dragoons to fight this off, and it's really hard. So you kind of have to use Archon dudes to fight them off, because you won't have enough, and you don't have Guardian Shield. Guardian Shell is actually very useful. And then for this one, the next wave is here. They can hit. I'm just getting the last few probes for the full saturation, and then around 550, which is when I drop the Archon dudes, I'm fully saturated. So you can see here, I have 3 gateways, the 4th one being built, forges being built, 2 Twilight Counts second Twilight Council upgrade is being researched. And then let's continue. So here I stopped the second wave, and then I moved the Dragoon out so that they don't spawn near my base. And then 650, the next wave hits, kill that. And then at 550 with this build, I'm already fully saturated. So the rest of this is just how I'm making more money, I guess. How I'm banking up more resources and continuing to build up my army. So the next checkpoint for this experiment is 930, which is after fighting off these enemies. So here at around 930, I have 7 gateways. My Twilight Council upgrades, the important ones, are done. This one is the opening with the Nexus at the rocks. So you'll see how different it is. It's not that different actually, but you just get the Nexus right away at 17 and then start building just like before. It's pretty much the same as the previous one, except you don't spend 50 energy on breaking rocks. So here, Cyber, and then second gateway. I guess the second gateway wasn't exactly necessary. Here, same thing, except here, 2 Archon dudes are enough to stop the wave, and the rest will break the rocks. So that means that I break the rocks a little bit later, but I don't need to make Dragoons or Zealots to break the rocks. Here, this drop wave is also blocked by the Nexus. So here, just Archon dudes to clear the wave and the aggressive deployment wave. And I will break the rocks here, and then I should be fully saturated by 650. So 650 here. I have 3 guys waiting here. A probe is on the way. And now we're going to just build up, continue playing, and see how it is at 930 for comparison. So first shuttle wave is gone, and then wait for the aggressive deployment wave. I didn't lose anything here, so supply-wise I should still be the same. Fight off this, and then stop at 930. We didn't finish that wave, but it's fine, just to check here. You know what? Let's just take a look at the side-by-side comparison. Here are the build orders side by side. If you use units, you get the Nexus built at around 510, which I think could have been about 20 seconds earlier because of how I played it out. So let's say even if it's earlier, it's around like 450-ish. For Unbound Fanatic opening, you build the Nexus at 1 minute 25, and for Nexus at rocks, you build the third Nexus, which is the Nexus at the rocks after the rocks go down, you build it at 4 minutes. The second Nexus, which is next to the rocks, will actually be a lot sooner. You are fully saturated with this at 930 because you may have to cut workers to make Dragoons to fight against the attack waves. With this method, you saturate at 550, and with the new method, you saturate at 650. So it's 1 minute later, and you'll see the actual costs later on. With Unbound Fanatics, you don't have to make so many Dragoons because you will just use Unbound Fanatics to defend against the early waves, and it doesn't matter what the enemy comp is. So this is the first checkpoint, the stuff I had at 5 minutes 50 seconds. This was when the Unbound Fanatic opening was fully saturated. So at 550, this one was fully saturated. This one, the natural just finished, and there were 13 probes there already, so they could start mining normally. The gas rocks weren't broken though. For both of these, I was about to use 50 energy on the attack wave, the 5-minute attack wave that just reached my base. Supplies are close, and if you consider the minerals and gas I had on hand, this one is slightly ahead. And for Twilight upgrades, I finished the one upgrade, which is the shield one, and then I started the range one. The forge is 3/4 done here, and I started level 1 here. So I probably spent some of the supply on a forge instead. Here I had 3 gateways, 1 was being built, 2 here, 1 was being built. And you can see that with units, at this point, I had a lot of energy and supplies were pretty close. I even finished my upgrades sooner because I start the tech sooner, but then I didn't have a forge yet. Now, the next checkpoint was at 650. 650 is when the new build was fully saturated. And here I had 105 energy, which is one Archon to drop more than the one before. Supply wise, you can see that with this extra bank in mind, they should be around the same. So this is about like 10 more supply, or like about 9 more goons or so, and then this one could be one more. So its supplies are about the same. And then this one's because the forge has started sooner, I'm ahead level 1 compared to this one. More gateways here compared to the other one. For this one, you can see that's starting to fall behind. So the Twilight upgrades are done. I have lots of energy, but not being used for anything. And Forge upgrades, level 1 was not started. Forge was done though. Gateways, 3 were done, 1 was being built. And there were 4 probes at the natural because the natural just finished. Then at 9:30, so this is when the unit opening was fully saturated. I had lots of energy. If you're not using P2, you might probably have like an extra 25 energy because I think I used the teleport once. And then you can see the supplies start to drift apart. So here with the Unbound fanatic opening, I had 100 supply with this much resources. This one's almost the same, but with more. So I'm slightly behind in supply compared to the Unbound fanatic opening. My upgrades are about the same. I'm down two gateways compared to this one. But entering the mid game, these two are almost the same, yet I'm up 50 energy. And yeah, so this build is just much better. This one, you can see just how far behind it is. It's just like 20 supply difference. I have an extra robo compared to these two, but so what? I'm just so far behind. So this is just not as good not as good economically. I checked a different Void Launch mutation to see if I could have saturated my base earlier for the units opening. And I found one for blasting off again where I used P2 as well. And at 550, it was kind of the same. You can see these two. It was kind of the same. I used extra 25 energy on attack waves. And then this was about the same. At 650, I had 7 probes at the natural instead of 4. And I had around the same supply. Minerals and gas almost the same, but I was behind in a Twilight upgrade, and I didn't have the forge. So it seems like I'm ahead in certain places, but behind in others. And then at 9:30, this one, I actually fully saturated at 850. On top of this, I checked several other Void Launch mutations with P0 or P2, and I was also saturated at about 850. So 850 seems like a more reasonable full saturation time. And you can see here that despite that, this is still behind, like in terms of supply compared to the Nexus at the Rocks build. So you don't use P0 or P2 to get an economic advantage. The purpose of this video is to show you the difference between the Unbound fanatic opening, which saturates at 550, and the Nexus at Rocks opening, which saturates at 650. Since the Unbound fanatic opening saturates at 550, the difference is really that 1 minute from 550 to 650. So what's different? Well, when the third Nexus for the new opening finishes at 550, there are already 13 probes, which means they can mine minerals equally. 13 out of 15 is what I go up to, so for me, that's max. The mineral mining will be the same. And the Nexus at the Rocks finishes at 3 minutes, which means that if you long distance mine, you will get more than 400 minerals in 2 minutes and 50 seconds up to this time, which pays for the Nexus itself. And also, there's one patch that mines efficiently, and the other 4 are long distance. So it's actually okay. And since you fully saturate the Nexus at Rocks opening at around 650, you're trading 400 minerals and 200 gas for 50 energy. The cost is from building 2 assimilators and making 6 more probes to mine the gas. This is not 450 because the long distance mining from earlier actually makes more than 400 minerals. So essentially you're earning a little bit before the 550 mark. And in a sense, you're paying about this much resources to buy a top bar usage. And for Artanis, this is really, really worth it because, you know, his units aren't the greatest and his Unbound fanatics are just really good at stalling, really good at destroying waves. So I would pay this twice to get 2 of these usages if I could. So the conclusion is that on maps with rocks, you should open with a Nexus at the rocks, then use Unbound fanatics to kill the first wave and the rocks to save 50 energy. You only need about 1 to 2 Unbound fanatics to destroy the wave, so you can use the other 3 or 4 on the rocks. And that's it for this video. I hope you learned something useful so that you can use these in your B+ games. Please subscribe, like, and comment, and share your ideas about what you think about this build or your experiences using this build. And I'll see you all in the next lesson.